So the next thing that's coming out in the movie theaters is this Indiana Jones film with Harrison Ford, right?
Right, the fifth one.
Uh-huh.
I didn't even know it was out until yesterday.
Now, Harrison Ford doesn't strike me as someone who has a really big sense of humor about himself, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's done a couple cameos. I remember him, like, Anchorman 2, and he was kind of making fun of his persona there.
Yeah, but as the Indiana Jones, like, franchise has continued, people say it gets worse and worse and worse,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And with Arnold Schwarzenegger, it feels like he's done so many other action-type hero stuff, but since he became governor and then post-politics, it hasn't felt like his movie career has been as, like, successful.
Right, I remember in 2013, he came out with The Last Stand, and that was supposed to be his return to Hollywood, and it didn't really pan out the way that people were expecting.
But as far as popularity is concerned, it feels like the fandom is much more in support of Arnold Schwarzenegger than it is with, like, the gruff exterior of Harrison Ford.
And I think that is why FUBAR succeeds, at least because I'm going to give it a passing grade.
Sure.
But I think that is what it's kind of cashing in on, and I think it was really smart marketing by Netflix to release a documentary afterwards, because really FUBAR is about how much you like Arnold Schwarzenegger. If you do not like him or you're not familiar with him at all, you're not going to enjoy this. I think it's for old-fashioned or old fans that like kind of want a nostalgic trip back to the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, the description says a CIA operative on the verge of retirement discovers a family secret and is forced to go back into the field for one last job. Mm-hmm. Now, they recently also rebooted True Lies, and we did the podcast for that, and he wasn't involved in that at all, right?
Yeah.
But Tom Arnold and Arnold Schwarzenegger are in this show, right?
Oh, they are? I didn't actually see Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold gets a small role. I wasn't sure if he showed up in the pilot of the episode. It would be really funny if they got Danny DeVito to show up.
I know that Tom Arnold shows up in the True Lies TV show also.
Oh, he does?
And they talk about True Lies in the second part of the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. I only watched the second episode and a little bit of the first.
That's because the second episode dealt with his acting career. So what can you tell me about that before we jump into FUBAR?
I think the most interesting part of that second episode is when they interview Sylvester Stallone, and they talked about the rivalry that they had in the 80s. They didn't like each other. They didn't talk to each other.
Oh, I believe it.
And
yeah.
It was one of those things where, like, you know, if for some reason Sylvester Stallone came out with a movie and he killed 15 people, well, then Arnold Schwarzenegger would need to come out with a movie where he would kill 30 people, and it just got to the point.
Well, think about it. You had Rocky on one side, and then you had the Terminator on the other. You had Rambo on one side, and then you had the Predator franchise on the other. It just felt like they went franchise for franchise.
They talked about the persona, the different type of action hero that each one was. Sylvester Stallone was a lot more kind of hardcore, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, although he played people like the Terminator and other films where he was supposed to be that kind of badass character, always had some type of charisma or nuance to him, a lot more than Sylvester Stallone had. And it's just funny to me because I remember seeing in 2013, I think, or maybe it was a little bit after that, Expendables 2 in theaters.
Sure.
And Arnold Schwarzenegger is in that movie, and Sylvester Stallone is obviously the star of that.
They'd reached the age where I think they kind of let go of that competitive spirit a bit. I mean, even Sylvester Stallone has graduated from just doing Rocky films about himself to doing the Creed films with Michael Jordan.
Yep.
But like also, weren't they in another movie together where they like escaped jail or something?
Yeah, it was like Escape Plan, I think.
Yes.
If I remember correctly. It
Yeah,
was
so
like 2015
they've worked together since then. It would have been cool, though, if in the 90s they had like a Rocky versus Sylvester Stallone in one of those films.
And I know that Arnold Schwarzenegger obviously was in politics, but I didn't know that he actually had a romantic connection to the Kennedy family. Apparently married someone. I think they got divorced in 2021.
She's written a book and stuff. Like his marriage has been a whole thing. I'm not as interested in his personal life as his acting because he transitioned from being a famous like bodybuilder, right?
Yeah, and he talked
about
in the first episode he's talking about how he like was bodybuilding by the age of 16 because he got really inspired by Hercules magazine, and then he went into the army at 18, and then he was offered like a bodybuilding competition while in the army, and he wasn't supposed to go, but he ended up going anyways. He was really into physique.
Well, it just sounds a lot like, not the army part, but the Young Rock. When you see a picture of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson when he's like 16 years old, he's already ripped. He's already like ready to go. So it is funny how like I could even imagine them making a young Schwarzenegger type TV show where it's just like the teenage years of Schwarzenegger.
I don't know. When they went to his kind of early films,
it was just depressing.
Or his early life, like he talked about how his kind of father was abusive to him.
Okay, never mind then. But he first started in Hercules. I think that was his first film. And then after that...
I think it was supposed to be more of a comedy, though, because it was like Hercules in New York.
Yeah, he couldn't speak English, really.
And I looked up the reviews for it. It has like a 3.3 on IMDb and like a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes. I think it really took until kind of Terminator before everything kind of turned around for him.
Okay, and so I was thinking, instead of me doing the 4 facts and then like one lie that you guessed, since you've seen the first episode of the second episode of the docuseries, how about you give me 1 lie and like 2 facts and see if I can tell? I'm putting you on the spot.
2 facts.
Yeah, because they must have been throwing facts at you the whole time.
Okay. How about for the first one, he popularized the cigar industry.
Okay.
And the second one is
I don't think he's like super into his health. But,
yeah.
But like maybe I've seen him smoking in something. I wouldn't think that he would be into cigars.
The second one is he became a millionaire before he was in movies.
Okay.
And then the third one is that the docuseries takes place mostly, the second episode that I watched, in the 90s. They focus a lot on the 90s.
Oh, the 80s and the 90s. It's like half and half. I will go ahead and say the cigar industry, and I'll tell you why. Mm-hmm. Even though he may like show off in like a TikTok video or something, him being like a badass and like being really strong, I think he is so health conscious. And I remember a Jimmy Carter interview that I saw on YouTube a few years ago where he was even talking about like how women should also stay in shape, and there's this expectation that men should always be in the gym. But back in the 80s, he was also promoting that women get in there too, and he's always been super...
You're saying Jimmy Carter interviewed Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger has this crazy hair at that point, like it's really, really long, and he's just like still jacked and stuff, but it's pretty funny.
They show a lot.
Is it the cigar one?
No, that's
Damn
100% wrong.
Damn it.
In fact,
I had a good reason behind it,
both episodes, both the docuseries and the first episode of FUBAR start off with him smoking a cigar.
What is he doing?
Because he really... well, if you think about it, like the Terminator series and everything like that, that was a big part of his character.
I can see it in my mind. I just couldn't relate it to how much he talks about being healthy, you know? It just doesn't correlate.
Well, yeah, and also he did become a millionaire before he was in the movie business. I believe he did a lot of just office work and was able to do so.
Wait, I didn't expect that. So he got his money not from his modeling or being famous, but just working away at the office?
No, I mean, he talked about how he did his climb. I can even show you the part in the second episode where he's talking about it.
Okay, so how much of that? Yeah.
So the third part is that it really focuses on the Reagan era. And as you can imagine, Schwarzenegger is a huge fan of Reagan. He was saying in the 80s how kind of like the U.S. was in a build at that point. They were able to, there was so much infrastructure going on. The economy was good. People were really wanting to see movies. And although it does focus on the 90s in the docuseries, it really does.
So you gave me 2 lies, and I got both of them wrong.
How did I give you 2 lies?
Because you said it took place in the 90s, and then also that he, the other one.
I said the docuseries.
Oh, yeah, he did become a millionaire. Yeah,
no,
you're
you're
right. Yes.
Anyways, can I get into the actual show now?
Well, I was wondering how much of like the cigar smoking plays a part in FUBAR, because he's playing this old guy who's kind of like done with the job, right? But he's still a spy. This has been compared to True Lies so much.
Really?
Obviously. Yeah, that's what most people are saying it has to do, because he's, again, in the CIA, and he finds out his daughter is working for them. Similar to his wife gets wrapped up in a mission on the CIA, and he has to go save her, right?
Yeah.
Does Arnold Schwarzenegger get to ride a horse in the first episode of FUBAR?
No, but if you remember the background of that scene, he almost died filming it in True Lies.
Yes, he did.
So that's why I think it was such smart marketing by Netflix. I know I said that already, but it's because you really need to care about Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he's the best thing about FUBAR by far. Just every single thing about him, he kind of takes the scene in every scene that he's in.
And it starts off in New York, right?
Actually, it starts off in Antwerp, Belgium.
Oh, okay.
So, he starts off smoking a cigarette. His name is Luke, and
Luke Brunner.
Luke Brunner.
Very CIA type name, and also not fitting of a guy with an accent like his.
Well, at first you're not supposed to know that he's CIA.
Yes.
Because there's this montage. He lights a dumpster on fire with a cigarette that he just smoked. He drives a nice car. He puts in an earpiece. He's speaking to kind of his tech sidekick, Barry. He's dressed in a fireman's costume, like you see him dress up in it.
A fireman's costume.
Yes. He goes down a sewer, and then he breaks into a bank.
Yeah.
And then puts a ton of explosives on safety deposit boxes, blows them up.
Damn.
picks up a specific one, opens it, and there's diamonds inside.
Yeah, and I assume a lot of other like bills that have just been fried that people have been keeping in their safety deposit
The thing
boxes.
he cares about most, though,
Precious
because
items that people have just destroyed. Yeah.
even when you see him open the thing, there's bills inside the safety deposit box, but he doesn't care about that. He just sees this little tiny bag full of diamonds, and he's going to be meeting with some mobsters. And this was kind of the funny part about the show. I was wondering if this was going to feel like kind of Samuel L. Jackson in the new Marvel roles whenever you see him as Nick Fury, and you see kind of the fight scenes, and if you slow it down, you can tell that like he's obviously not as quick as he used to be, so the fight scenes kind of come across as a little hokey here.
Even in the Terminator, though, he wasn't like this spry guy who was like jumping around and stuff. He was more the like, I'm just going to bulk my way through this. I'm going to rhino it like right through that China shop. Yeah.
Well, I mean, and here he basically does the same thing. He takes out all these mobsters because the mobsters realize that these diamonds were actually completely fake, and then that's when we get the turn that he's actually he's part of the CIA, and that's the last operation that he's supposed to be pulling before he has this retirement. And so after that, he decides to go back to New York. We get
so they're starting off with a giant boom, and they're saying, "Look at this is a spectacle for you." As an audience guide, you buy it.
Yeah, I mean, the montage at the very beginning was about 8 minutes or so, and it started off pretty exciting.
So 10 out of 10, no faults with it.
I mean, I'm not sure 10 out of, maybe a 9 out of 10.
Okay, so sure. That's a really high rating to
start
off.
I mean, I enjoyed the beginning scene.
And you think anybody would?
Yeah, I think so.
So watch the first 10 minutes of it. Okay, then what happens?
Well, then he decides to go back to New York, and that's when we get more about his character.
Armonk, New York. I've never heard of Armonk, New York before.
Yeah, so he has an ex-wife named Callie, who he really wants to get back together with.
Of course.
But he learns, I guess, later on in the episode from Emma, his daughter, that she's dating someone. And so he kind of gets a little annoyed by that.
Did you recognize Emma Brunner?
No, I didn't.
She was from Top Gun. She was the girl in Top Gun.
Oh, the pilot.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Now that you say that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then also we have his son, Oscar. Oscar is someone that is really involved in startups, and he's hoping to get his dad to, like, help him with, like, kind of producing it, or at least...
I thought you were going to say, like, Bitcoin or something. Like, okay.
Well, I mean, he's supposed to kind of be seen as one of those Bitcoin type of freaks, because he's trying to get off the ground, I guess.
All right.
And then he
type
meets...
of freaks.
Well, I mean, he's supposed to...
We just lost a huge set of our audience.
I didn't mean freaks. What I meant was that he's like, he doesn't have a job at this point.
All right.
And so even when he's speaking to Luke, it's obvious that, like, this
So, like,
plan
Arnold
that he
Schwarzenegger's
has,
rolling his eyes, and he's kind of like, okay, son.
all that stuff. He cares about his granddaughter that he has. I think her name is something like Roni or Rona or something like that.
Okay.
And then we somehow get a, I guess, cameo appearance from Jay Baruchel. I had no idea that he was going to be in
Carter,
the show.
Emma's boyfriend, right?
He shows up for one scene and he's playing normal Jay Baruchel. Like, Luke does not like him at all. He plays like the really nerdy character.
Like awkwardness?
Yeah, trying to make a ton of jokes.
Man-seeking woman, Jay Baruchel, walking in there.
And
he's a kindergarten teacher, though, right?
Yeah, that's what they say in the episode. But really, what?
Do you think he could sneakily actually be like an evil terrorist or something? Like, could that be? Because that's a pretty big that route. It's a pretty big casting. Like the guy from BlackBerry, he's starring in his own movies right now for such a tiny role.
So that was my question: is he just in it for one episode, or is he in
Honestly,
it for more?
His Wikipedia page just says that he's a kindergarten teacher. So.
Okay.
There you have it.
Yeah, so him and Emma, again, that is Luke's daughter, are wanting to give water to a ton of Colombians. That's supposed to be I guess, the cover, because really, I was able to tell that she was a, like, secret agent right away. There's a scene where Luke is trying to give her a gift, and he kind of hits the gift in her arm, and then she's like, "Oh, sorry, my arm hurts because I got it from a roller skating accident."
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, "Oh no, she's absolutely a secret spy," because I didn't know anything about about
also
the first
roller
episode.
skating seems like such a far-fetched idea. Like, she could have said anything. She could, I fell over, or I, like, hit my like, I don't know, but, like, maybe you rammed into your car accidentally.
It was trying to be so subtle about it, but I could tell right away. It was like snapped.
I was
right
just
in my
roller
head.
derbying like randomly one day, and I got hurt. Yeah. Okay, so you figured it out. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Luke Brenner, the CIA agent, does not figure it out. How long does it take him to see?
About halfway through the episode. At a retirement party, he was told that that actually is not his last mission because there's an operative.
I didn't know that's how retirement parties work, that they can just assign you more missions.
Yeah, like they're literally cutting the cake, he's eating it, he's having a good time, and then Barry takes him into his office and is like, actually, this isn't your last mission.
I hate to do this
to
you, man.
You're the only person that's going to be able to... And I mean, again, this is... I feel like it was supposed to be as cheesy as it came across because it's kind of supposed to harken back to the 80s and 90s film where it's like, you're the only person that's going to be really able to save this mission. And the reason for that is because in Guyana, Panda, that's an operative's name.
Guyana?
Yeah, and there's this other person named Boro who is dealing illegal arms.
Boro Polonia,
yeah, is the only person who trusts Luke because apparently Luke, a long time ago, decades back, had the name Finn under the alias Finn. Uncle Finn, kind of raised him.
Oh, it says here that he killed Boro's father years ago and became Uncle Finn to him.
Yes.
So that, so there's like a father-son relationship.
And Boro, wanting to, I guess, continue his father's legacy, is now dealing these illegal arms. And Panda, who is an operative who is giving them information, is very much, I guess, at stake or in the crosshairs because there's this other person named Troy who is kind of Boro's right-hand man who knows Panda's identity, and if he gets to Guyana and tells Boro about Panda, then everything is going to be screwed.
Seems very complicated.
Yeah.
In the end, though, I do find it interesting how Arnold Schwarzenegger just goes by Luke, and then the other people go by code names like Panda. Like, why didn't he get a code name?
Again, no, he goes by Finn. He's Luke, but then Finn.
Uncle Finn. But, like, Finn is a normal name, is what I'm trying to say. Panda is not. Panda's like, okay.
Well, actually, what we learned is, so he goes to Guyana, he goes to a fight ring.
Yes.
He sees that Panda is actually Emma, who is going by the code name of Danny.
Okay.
So people are getting so many different names, it's kind of hard to keep track. But he's obviously very surprised by it, and that's when I was like, oh, that scene was really funny just in and of itself, the reveal.
How did they reveal it?
Because she's in a fight rink and she's beating up someone.
Oh, so it's not like one of those ones where she's wearing a mask and he's like, he pulls it off, and he's like, oh my god, you're my daughter.
There's a ton of people around this fight rink. Luke is...
Ring? Yeah, ring.
Ring, yeah. Luke is talking to kind of one of the henchmen of Boro, and then Luke is like, wow, that fighter is a really good fighter. He must do a lot of training. And then the henchman is like, it's not a he. And she turns around, and it's Danny.
Yeah.
And I was glad that it didn't take, like, too long before both knew that they were there. Danny ends up just completely pummeling the person that she's in the ring with. Mm-hmm. And then after the fight scene, they both meet each other. And
they act like they don't know each other.
They were really angry. I thought that the acting was actually pretty good in that scene.
Okay.
Because because they realize that both are lying to each other. Emma did not know that Luke, for this whole entire time, has been a CIA agent. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the best parts of the episode is when Boro, they're at this dinner, this big dinner with all these villains, and Luke is there, and Emma is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, Boro is talking, and he's like, and my Uncle Finn, and that showed Emma that really the reason why he wasn't around, why Luke wasn't around when he was her father, was because he was in Guyana. And that's something that the episode deals with a lot. Emma feels betrayed by her father.
Do you think she's justified in that opinion, or is it a little too much?
Here's the thing. When it went to the dramatic route, because it did go to that kind of, you had the good old-fashioned scene where Emma is really confronting Luke, being like, you weren't there for me as a kid. I always felt like it dragged the show down so much. I actually really enjoyed seeing the action and the comedy. There's even a time when Emma is inside a dead cow on the road, and then someone comes up to her and she stabs him in the face. I thought that was the funniest kill. And so when it focused on the action and the comedic route, I thought it worked. When it focused on you weren't there for me as a kid, I always kind of got really annoyed with it, and it focused on it, I think, more than I wanted it to.
The episode is called Take Your Daughter to Work Day, but I have read reviews where it's she is really unprofessional with the amount of anger she has towards her father, and that she has to put that aside.
Yeah, and I think that it really slowed the episode down.
Okay. Well, how much of the episode is even left at this point? Because
so they go on a ton of missions. What they're trying to do is they're trying to leave Guyana as fast as possible. Boro realizes that Luke and Emma are bad people to him because he had this nuclear suitcase which they were trying to get, and they end up stealing. There was even this person named William who I believe midway through the episode kind of passes a note to Luke Luke, who is like, hey, I've been here, I know you're an operative, but get me out of here and I won't tell anyone in my family. So it just takes this whole entire big fight or chase scene where they're on this motorcycle and there's like a ton of cars coming after them, and sadly they get caught right before they're able to get to the airstrip and leave.
Yes.
Barry, by the way, has been here the whole time with 2 other kind of tech operatives. I found them to be probably the most annoying characters in the show because we do not get any backstory on them at all, and they are always just given these one-liners.
Did you get their names?
I did.
Was like one Alden or something?
I think Alden might have been one of them.
He was from the U season 3, I think. He played the dude who was married to the one who got trapped in whatever. It doesn't matter.
I think it was,
he's been around.
They're given basically
and
nothing.
Rue? Maybe Rue was the other one?
Rue might have been
Alden and Rue?
Yeah,
okay.
both those characters did absolutely, they're just really mean to Barry, and I felt like there was
Sassy
no
mean
actual,
or just like mean?
Completely sarcastic, which it's like when that's all your character is, it's really hard to actually care for them at all.
So what's the ending cliffhanger then?
No, the ending cliffhanger, they get captured.
Yeah. All right. And so then, where does that leave you wanting to watch the next episode or not?
I don't think so, mostly because the story was so jumbled and all over the place.
So
Arnold Schwarzenegger is great in the pilot.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed him. I think he does a fantastic job, and you can tell that he's having a lot of fun with the role. Mm-hmm. Now, that might be just the fact that I learned so much more about him in the documentary that I really enjoyed him in FUBAR.
Yeah, so you suggest people watch FUBAR and the documentary series at once.
Yeah, I think that it would
both at the same time.
It would keep your
2 screens.
It keeps your enjoyment of the episode being able to see him, though. And I'm going to give it a passing grade of 6.5 out of 10 because the comedy and the fight scenes and his performance really do bring it to a passing grade. But I don't feel like the show has gotten that good of reviews, and I can't see myself really wanting to watch more of it.
It has a 6.5 on IMDb, so you basically just stole theirs. But it's got mixed to negative reviews. Yes, IGN, TV Guide, Decider, The Guardian all liked it. Guardian gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Rolling Stone, Hollywood Reporter were more the meh reviews. USA Today hated it, 1 out of 4. They called it a cliche, painful mess, which I found ironic because it's USA Today, and that's basically their paper. Daily Beast, which gave Hijack an okay review, so they don't deserve an opinion, also gave it a negative review. TV Line said that the whole series feels like Netflix fed Arnold Schwarzenegger's old action movies into ChatGPT and filmed whatever came out unedited. I'll take that as a legit criticism.
I think
it's pretty funny.
That's the review I agree with kind of most.
Yeah,
because even though
I have nothing against TV Line, so I guess I'll accept that as far as negative.
The show does go just such a ridiculous route at different points. I mean, like, even though I like the fact that Emma kills someone inside a dead cow, it was just like Revenant style.
Does she take the body then and then pull it into the cow and then like stitch it up, keep the body in there? No one ever knows.
No, she's inside the dead cow.
I know, but she's basically pulling a Luke Skywalker.
Well, no, that's actually what happens in the show. They both kill 2 people. They put them in the back of the car. They put them in a lake, and then the lake ends up kind of flooding, and the 2 bodies come down the river, and that's when Boro realizes that Luke and Emma must have been the people that have killed those 2.
Okay, how about, is it like a recently dead cow, though? Because it'd be really gross
if
it was
it was recently dead, obviously.
I don't know. Okay. I mean, at first when you said that she was in a cow, I thought you meant like a cow costume. Like she was like trying to get... You said they were trying to escape the country. Maybe they were going for like a Trojan horse thing. I don't know. But anyways, anything else you want to say about this episode? The pilot.
No, I guess I wish that they didn't have as surface level characters as they did, because even though I think that Emma was a fine character to follow, like I said, her biggest trait is just the fact that she's against Luke.
For now.
But
eventually.
And then you have Tally, who I guess don't really understand what the point is, why he wants to get back together with her so badly, because again, we only get one scene where they're kind of talking to each other.
Plot. Yeah, it's
but
kind of like Top Gun, the other movie that she was in, where Tom Cruise was constantly trying to get back with his old flame.
Yeah,
they have to have that. You know?
Yeah, I think that the show is also shot pretty well. It's cool that you get Belgium, New York, and then Guyana.
I think either the creator or the director was used to be a cinematographer for other things. So like
that makes a lot of sense.
Maybe that played a role in it.
I also think that Boro isn't that bad a villain either, because
Gabriel Luna?
Yeah, because
I mean, he's from Terminator Dark Fate and also also The Last of Us. He played the brother in that.
Oh, okay.
So you've seen him before.
He's threatening as a villain. When he's in that dinner party scene, he calls up someone, and it's supposed to be one of those things where he's congratulating him for being such a great friend, and then he starts talking about how that person is actually stolen from him, pulls out a gun and shoots him straight in the face in front of everyone. So I was like, this guy's threatening. So it's like this show had all these parts to be a really great show. I just don't think it utilized them in the right way.
Good. 6.5 out of 10.
6.5.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this one. Bye.
Bye.